Considering a WWE star's entrance might very well be the first time somebody sees them, its importance cannot be overstated. Entrances are a major part of WWE's sports entertainment showcase, adding much to the spectacle that fans have come to expect when attending a WWE event. Unsurprisingly, some superstar entrances are better than others. However, a wacky gimmick or a substantial push from the office doesn't always result in fireworks and theatrics, and some of the best entrances in WWE history have as much to do with the performers doing them as the efforts of the company's production department. You will not find many better than the following. But just a note before we start, we are only looking at standard entrances here, not special one-off entrances like Shawn Michaels on the zip wire, Rusev's tank, or any of the mental stuff that Triple H has done at every single WrestleMania. Grow up, Hunter. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 50 greatest WWE entrances. Join us. Number 50, the Dudley Boyz. When Bubba Ray and Devon signaled their arrival in the arena, it's not as if they did anything particularly special. There was no choreographed dance routine and not necessarily a ton of crowd interaction either. Their entrance was simple but effective, aided massively by an instantly recognizable theme tune and some truly distinctive pyro. Following the line, "Yeah, we're coming now," the camera would follow what looked like a rocket exploding onto the stage, the camera angle switching to one that captured all those loud fireworks in all their glory. Those damn Dudleys were preparing to go to war, and it looked like they just wandered into a war zone. After that, it was a typically no-nonsense approach, with Bubba the more stoic and focused during their walk, while Devon might add a little more animation. Extra credit goes to any entrance made when they were accompanied by the Duchess of Dudleyville, Stacy Keibler, because, well, you know. Number 49, Chyna. It took Chyna a little while to get her own individual entrance, as she would for a long time accompany Degeneration X or Triple H coming out to their music. After the Ninth Wonder of the World branched out on her own and became a singles competitor, predominantly in the men's division lest we forget, the two-time Intercontinental Champion finally got an entrance that befit her status as one of the top stars in the company at the time. First, there was that seductive theme with cries of, "Don't treat me like a woman, don't treat me like a man, don't treat me like you know me, treat me for just who I am." I ask people the same thing myself every day. Then when Chyna made her way out, striding confidently, she was holding a goddamn bazooka. I mean, you would be confident if you were holding one of those things, wouldn't you? It wasn't an actual weapon, of course, but something Chyna used to shoot pyro up into the sky in a great visual, accentuated as always by WWE's canny choice of camera cuts. Number 48, Matt Hardy version 1. The Hardy Boys had an exciting entrance as a tag team, but when they went their separate ways in 2002, Matt knew that he had to go in a whole new direction if he was going to put paid to the comparisons with brother Jeff. Professing the power of Mattitude, Matt Hardy version 1 changed up his whole act, and with it came a new special entrance. While Jeff kept the Hardy stock music, Matt got a new theme, kicking off with a mighty "Oh yeah!" followed by lyrics about tornado slapping and such. After his computer screen had loaded up, Matt would emerge with a special filter that was very reminiscent of video quality during the dark days of dial-up. On the side of his screen were Matt facts, such as Matt strongly dislikes mustard, and Matt keeps the room temperature at a toasty 75 degrees. Crucial information, I'm sure you'll all agree. It was a novel presentation and instantly helped distinguish the new, more egocentric Matt Hardy from the old one. Number 47, Chris Masters. With a physique rivaling the winner of Mr. Universe, it's hardly a shocker that Chris Masters and WWE would want to show it off. The masterpiece, especially in pre-wellness policy times, was as thick and cut as anyone on the roster, and he wanted to let his opponents see just how bulky and ripped he was before he used all those lovely muscles to trap them in the master lock. With the lights dimmed and while kingly music played out and isolated shots of Masters' body aired on the Titantron, Masters, draped in a cape, waited patiently for his opportunity to flex. Shedding the cape, Masters then sprang to life, hitting a trio of poses as sparks shot up behind him. I mean, I would tell you the proper names of those poses, but I don't want to embarrass you and your pathetic lack of bodybuilding knowledge. After the final one, the music would duly change to something that had a better walking pace to it. And then it was just time to sit back, relax, and watch the beefcake strut his stuff. Number 46, the New Age Outlaws. Oh, you didn't know? Well then, you can probably assume what your ass can do, can't you? Floundering Floundering as singles performers, Billy Gunn and Jesse James were thrown together in late 1997 and essentially told to sink or swim. Rockabilly and the Roadie certainly did swim, getting over massively during the burgeoning Attitude Era. Their entrance, which encouraged audience participation, was a big reason for their skyrocketing popularity. That lovely guitar riff, followed by that familiar cry, was all the live crowd needed to lose their minds. Walking to the ring with an assured, almost cocky swagger, Road Dogg riffed and spoke directly to everyone watching as Gunn found the nearest camera to play up to. When they had finally made it to the ring, it was time for the catchphrases, every word quickly repeated back at a deafening volume. There was no pyro, no flashy lighting, no custom graphics, none of it was needed, and the result spoke for itself. Number 45, the Sandman. This one comes with a heavy caveat, as the Sandman's WWE entrance really did pale in comparison to the one he made in ECW. In Paul Heyman's promotion, the beer-swilling, cane-swinging extremist would come through the crowd to the strains of Metallica's Enter Sandman, cracking cans and smoking a cigarette as he did so. WWE had more rules to play by, like actually paying for the rights to music and such, and so the Sandman's entrance, while under Vince McMahon's employ, was considerably watered down. However, it was still pretty bloody good, even with Metallica replaced by WWE composer Jim Johnson's best effort and no lit cig to puff on. He also famously got to do it proper on just one occasion, at the WWE-produced ECW One Night Stand 2005 pay-per-view. The former ECW champion really had to have a great entrance, since his matches were rarely, if ever, up to much, and WWE did the very best with what they had. Number 44, JBL. Bradshaw's transformation into JBL was one of the most sudden and startling in WWE history. The former APA member went from a mid-card tag team specialist to a solo headliner seemingly overnight by changing his name, ring gear, and wrestling style. Another big change was his new entrance. Flaunting the immense wealth gained by playing a blinder on the stock market, JBL would enter the arena in a long white limousine. The pulsing riff of his APA music had also been replaced by something more grandiose, even cinematic. Alluding to his Texas roots, the theme included the sound of cows mooing, while the limo's hood was adorned with bullhorns. It was a champion's entrance, and it served JBL well both while reigning as WWE champion and after. Little bit of a shout out as well to some of JBL's one-off special entrances, like the time he made it rain at WrestleMania 21, and the time he used a year's worth of pyro on the December 31st, 2007 episode of Monday Night Raw. Number 43, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. A lot can be said about Ricky Steamboat's ill-fated WWE return in 1991. I'll just say this, it was a bit crap. The former Intercontinental Champion was essentially booked like a preliminary guy and spent much of the run beating enhancement talents in simple squash matches. A far cry from tearing the house down at WrestleMania 3, but at least he had a bloody cool entrance. In a bid to appeal to WWE's kiddie fanbase, they turned the one-time NWA World's Heavyweight Champion into a literal fire-breathing dragon. Attired in extravagant entrance gear to make him look like a big old lizard, Ricky would walk to the ring carrying a torch, before climbing to the second turnbuckle from the apron side, waiting for the lights to be cut out, and then he would let her rip. Honestly, how they didn't sell a gazillion Steamboat action figures on the back of this stunt, I will never know. Ricky learned the skill from an experienced circus performer, and though he soon grew to loathe the taste of kerosene, the Dragon's entrance was red hot. Number 42, Randy Orton. Randy Orton's entrance naturally evolved over the course of his 20-plus year WWE career. If we had to choose the best era for the Legend Killer's entrance, I would feel confident saying that it was during the period in the mid-2000s when he reigned as Intercontinental Champion and began to crack into the main event scene. Whether appearing from the gorilla position to his own Burn in My Light music or Evolution's Motorhead number Line in the Sand, Orton oozed self-assurance. It was not an act, as any WWE diva of the time will tell you. With his arms outstretched, what can only really be described as either a wall or a curtain of sparks would begin to drip down behind him, providing a backdrop of gold for the ultra-talented and ultra-young Orton. Sauntering into the ring, Randy would then proudly stand on the second turnbuckle and stretch his arms out again, soaking up the adulation. These days, Randy doesn't normally have the pyro and he walks noticeably more methodically, but it's still the entrance of a star who knows exactly what he's doing and and is in no hurry to change his pace for anybody. Number 41, Mr. Kennedy. There were a lot of regrets when it came to the controversial WWE career of Mr. Kennedy, but for a while there, he looked like the next big star in the making. He had the look, he could talk, and crucially had an eye-catching entrance that was unlike any other. Kennedy's actual walk to the ring wasn't anything noteworthy, and he didn't have any pyro either. His entrance music, for what it was just fine, but not exactly up there with classic wrestling themes of the past. No, the key part of Kennedy's entrance was when he got into the ring. Raising his hand to the sky, the lights were cut save for a spotlight that shone directly on him. After that, a microphone would drop from above, allowing the motor-mouthed braggart to announce himself before his match. It was a simple but very effective presentation, punctuated with the final calls of Mr. Kennedy! Kennedy! Oh, that is very satisfying. Number 40, Alberto Del Rio. With designs on making him their next big Spanish-speaking megastar, WWE gave Alberto Del Rio the full vignette treatment ahead of his official SmackDown debut. When Del Rio rocked up to confront Rey Mysterio, you already believed the Mexican aristocrat was a big deal, having seen his giant house and observed his fine tailoring for weeks. That initial impression was reinforced when Alberto made his entrance for his first official match later that night. Driving into the arena in a Rolls Royce, Del Rio also got a shower of pyro and was introduced to the world in Spanish via his own personal ring announcer, Ricardo Rodriguez. As far as first impressions go, they don't get much stronger than this. Alberto would continue to make his entrance in style, coming out every week with a new luxury ride. It really was no surprise to see him ascend up the card so quickly when WWE put so much effort into projecting his image. Number 39, Eminem. Speaking of impressive debuts, Eminem's was right up there. Interrupting WWE Tag Team Champion Rey Mysterio during an appearance on Carlito's Cabana, Johnny Nitro, Joey Mercury, and Melina made their surprise bow and immediately got the wrestling world talking with their entrance. With a lack of vignettes or another form of forewarning, Eminem needed to hook people and establish their characters from the get-go. Flanked by paparazzi, the threesome was snapped from every angle as they walked down a literal red carpet. Once they got to the ring itself, Melina sent her boys inside while she stretched her leg on the apron and, in a move nobody saw coming, chucked the other one up and completed a split while sneaking her head and body under the rope. It was something they would tweak in the months and years to follow, but it was always suitably box office from the would-be Hollywood stars. Melina's miniskirts also added an extra element to the production and no doubt doubled the price of front row aisle seats. Number 38, The Godfather. That's right, folks, it's time to step aboard the Ho train. I am your conductor, Adam Pacitti. The only thing I ask is that you refrain from lighting up a fatty until the end of the ride. So, like a lot of stuff that happened during the Attitude Era, The Godfather's entrance was very much of its time and place. You wouldn't get away with it now, but it certainly worked back then. The music was infectious to start with, but the all-important 18 to 34 male demographic were especially drawn to the fun-loving pimp's lady friends, which, for the record, were typically sourced from local gentlemen's establishments. Once the Ho train had made its way to the ring, that's where the Godfather, like the New Age Outlaws and other Attitude Era favorites, would recite his pre-match audience participation patter. Again, nothing too showy, but it always got the fans on their feet and their willies pointing toward the arena ceiling. And that, at the end of the day, is what counts. Number 37, Daniel Bryan. One simple word, 3 little letters, and the career of Daniel Bryan was changed forever. The hard-hitting veteran of the Indies didn't have the easiest start to his WWE career, famously getting fired for apparently stepping over the line during the initial beatdown by the invading Nexus. He was also routinely mocked by wrestlers and announcers for being bland and lacking charisma, but the American Dragon proved them all wrong by getting over massively and spawning the Yes movement. His entrance was understated in comparison to some other headliners, but what made it great was the crowd's response to him. Coming out to his Flight of the Valkyries theme, an electric version of the classical music piece Ride of the Valkyries, those in the arena would come unglued at the sight of D-Bry, who would bounce down to the ring side to side, orchestrating the thousands in attendance in their cries of yes! Once perched on the top turnbuckle, he would continue to encourage the battle cry, and it always made for a great visual. Number 36, Shawn Michaels. As one of the most spectacular performers of his, or for that matter any other generation, it figures that Shawn Michaels would have one of the flashiest entrances in the game. It came together bit by bit over time, with a change in vocal on his annoyingly catchy theme music being the first thing that really helped his cause. In the 90s, the Heartbreak Kid would strut and dance his way to the ring, always decked out in some ostentatious entrance gear to the sounds of Sexy Boy. Once in the ring, he would hit a leaning double bicep pose as the fireworks went off behind him. During his second run in the 2000s, Michaels would first fall to his knees on the ramp and pray, setting off the fireworks behind him before hitting his signature pose in the ring. Just look at that merchandise, but don't even think about putting your hands on it. Shawn was also someone with a penchant for an extra special entrance, like his zipline arrival at WrestleMania 12 or his descending from the heavens theatrics at Mania 25. Number 35, Sin Cara. It is a crying shame that the original Sin Cara's WWE run was such a bust overall, because the early signs were all very promising. One of the first things you noticed about the high-flying former Mystico was his acrobatic entrance. With fireworks and smoke making it look like he had just appeared from thin air, the masked man then pointed to each side of the arena before running down the ramp and, hold on a second, did he just fly over the top rope and do a forward roll into the ring? The leap was trampoline assisted, of course, but camera angles cleverly disguised all that. The second Sin Cara's head touched the mat, the fireworks on the stage went off, creating an expertly timed visual. Sadly, the trampoline would be taken away in due course, because the luchador couldn't be relied upon to nail it every single time and was also recovering from a major knee injury, but even the substituted version, with him springing off the middle rope and doing a turning roll into the center of the ring, was still pretty cool. Number 34, Bayley. Back when she was a fresh-faced high-fiving babyface, Bayley had a feel-good entrance that you just couldn't help but smile at. From the first chords of her positively chipper theme tune, the mood in the arena would shift to one of utter joy. Once Bayley was on the stage, she would dance around and further raise the energy levels before raising a bunch of wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men which were nicknamed Bayley Buddies. On occasion, like at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2, there would be even more Bayley Buddies waiting to be summoned once the hugger was in the ring. The buoyant fans would add to the presentation of it all by not just cheering and slapping hands with Bayley, but by holding up plenty of hugger section signs. I love Bayley, we all love Bayley, and I loved her entrance, but I can never forget and I can never forgive her for what she did to those Bayley Buddies. Number 33, Randy Savage. I would be willing to bet that if Randy Savage came along today, he would have one of the most spectacular and, let's face it, overly produced entrances of all time. Someone as over the top as the Macho Man would demand it, but back in his heyday, there weren't many elaborate sets, pyro was kept to a minimum, and don't even bring up computer-generated graphics. Coming through the curtain to Pomp and Circumstance, a graduation song, Savage always looked resplendent in his robe or cape, along with accessories like sunglasses, bandana, or cowboy hats. Randy had about 5,000 different outfits, and every one of them was a winner that drew the collective eye of the masses. Also drawing the eye was the lovely Miss Elizabeth, who gave the Macho Man an added touch of class. After winning the King of the Ring tournament and becoming the Macho King, Savage and Sensational Sherry would often be carried to the ring on a sedan chair. The extra little twirls and poses that Randy did once he was in the ring put a nice little PS on things. Dig it? I certainly did, mate. Number 32, Mr. McMahon. If you own the company, you can just about have whatever entrance you damn well please. Vince McMahon could have chosen to come out in a flashy sports car or had a fireworks display that would make Disneyland on the 4th of July blush, but the genetic jackhammer opted instead for deterring theme music and the most powerful of power walks instead. With no chance in hell blaring over the arena sound system, McMahon forcefully walked out and made his bulky frame move in a hypnotic way that was both intimidating and hilarious in equal measure. Once it became a certified meme, Vince really started hamming it up, throwing his limbs about with reckless abandon. The billionaire power walk is something you can see 100 times and never tire of it, as there's often a new inflection to admire. Often imitated but never quite duplicated, Mr. McMahon's walk to the ring is something you can heartily take the piss out of, yet you can't help but admire it at the same time. That mad old billionaire bastard. Number 31, Rick Rude. Some wrestlers just had the look, didn't they? Rick Rude was certainly one of them, with that ripped six-pack, wonderful perm of hair, and, who could forget, one of the world's greatest moustaches. Ravishing Rick strode to the ring with all the authority of a man who knew he could have any woman in the audience. And that, in truth, was a big part of Rude's act. Once again, Rude's prime was in the days where production was a lot more stripped down, and thus he didn't enjoy the trimming of sparklers and whatnot. But in saying that, he didn't really need them, because that moustache spoke for itself. And Rude spoke for himself too, delivering a pre-match spiel in which he insulted the hometown for being sweat hogs or meatheads or something else undesirable, disrobed, swiveled those hypnotic hips, and often planted a big old lip lock on an awestruck fan. All this while the other ladies in attendance eagerly took flashing pictures of the action before the action. Number 30, John Morrison. Speaking of shredded abs, you could grate cheese on the stomach of John Morrison, couldn't you? As we saw a little while earlier, Morrison as Johnny Nitro was part of one fantastic entrance alongside Eminem cohorts Mercury and Melina. When he eventually changed his name and branched out on his own, WWE made sure John Morrison's new entrance captured his superstar aura. Along with a new theme, Johnny entrance apparently had the ability to slow down time itself at the instance he raised his hand in the air. Enhanced by a wind machine that blew his enviable head of hair and with colourful fireworks in the background making the frame pop, Morrison's entrance made him look like a really big deal. The cool shades and array of flamboyant jackets didn't hurt his cause either. It's disappointing that Jomo never fully managed to break into the tippity top tier, but he had a first-rate entrance that would befit any WWE champion. And now listen, that ain't no make-believe. Number 29, Cody Rhodes. When Cody Rhodes decided to leave WWE in 2016, he did so as the go-nowhere Stardust character. When he returned at WrestleMania 38 6 years later, he did so as a major star who had bet on himself and won big. The American Nightmare came back to WWE as a major star, and major stars need major league entrances. Cody's is one of the best in recent memory, beginning sometimes as it does with his emergence from below the stage thanks to the Codyvator, after his wrestling has more than one royal family prelude. The second generation Grappler's theme music is immediately recognizable and lends itself to a sing-song, the peak of which comes with the big "Whoa!" when Rhodes is usually halfway to the ring. There's also a bit of pyro too, which Cody cues up with his fist. It's an altogether exceptional little piece of business that gets the blood pumping and sets the tone perfectly for Cody's matches. Now go out there and finish the story, you little rascal. Number 28, Finn Balor. Prior to his Judgment Day days, when Finn Balor wrestled as plain old Finn Balor, his entrance was one that used a few elements very well and got the audience involved from the off. Coming out as smoke billowed behind him, the Prince would act as conductor, making the WWE Universe rise as one in time with his theme as a bright light flashed on every appropriate beat. It was a nice piece of choreography, continuing when Balor made his way onto the turnbuckles. WWE's ace camera crew always made sure to get a good wide shot right as the crowd threw their arms in sync with the first ever Universal Champion. A great entrance, yes, but not quite on the level of the Demons. The basic concept is the same, but the addition of the heartbeat intro, the red lighting, and the Demons writhing down the ramp like a demon, I suppose, puts it on another level. Never met a demon personally, but I know a good entrance when I see one. Number 27, MVP. When Montel Vontavious Porter burst onto the scene in 2006, he was touted as being a self-centered super athlete that demanded the best of everything and surrounded himself with agents and other people who could provide it. A send-up of over-pampered NBA players and the like, it made sense that MVP's entrance would be somewhat gaudy. With the sound of a clock counting down, the one-time hottest free agent in the industry history would burst through a branded smoke-filled inflatable corridor right on cue with the lyric, "I'm coming." After that, it would be posing time, with MVP throwing his arms out as either flames or fireworks shot out of a, again, branded column. After coolly strolling down to the ring, Porter would get inside the squared circle and do his signature taunt, a hop, skip, and ball-in basketball shot. This entrance certainly hit nothing but net and immediately helped separate MVP from the rest of the mid-card pack. Right, MVP's time is up. Whose time is now? Number 26, John Cena. John Cena's WWE entrance is iconic because John Cena himself is a WWE icon. Because really, there's nothing tremendously special about it. It's a man coming out to music, running down to the ring, and doing some taunts along the way. But it is, of course, so much more than that. First, the music. My Time Is Now, written and recorded by Big Match John himself, wouldn't be out of place in any nightclub. And I would know because I've been to 4 nightclubs myself. A millisecond after the live crowd clock whose song it is, that is when the unparalleled reaction starts. Whether he was cheered or more likely booed, Cena's arrival always got a reaction that made you stop and watch. After that, there's the salute, the talking directly to the camera, the run down to the ring, and the baseball cap throw into the 10th row. Nothing too fancy, but warm and comforting. When it comes to the big occasion, the Doctor of Thugonomics has been known to bust out the audacious, from driving various high-powered vehicles to inviting a legion of jort-wearing lookalikes. Number 25, CM Punk. It is amazing what a change of entrance theme and an increased air of confidence can do for a WWE superstar. Not that CM Punk ever lacked confidence, of course, but he really started getting into his groove about the time he switched from This Fire Burns, a number that was used by Randy Orton for a week, to Living Colour's Cult of Personality. The song fit the straight-edge superstar down to the ground and was really the highlight of a rather ordinary entrance, truth be told. Honestly, Punk didn't need to do a lot because he got the desired reaction and his face usually told the story. The "It's clobbering time" call while kneeling at the top of the ramp was cute and all, but the thing about the former WWE champion is he didn't need anything else but his walk down to the ring. Punk also never really altered his entrance for major events like WrestleMania, besides when Living Colour played him down before his showdown with The Undertaker at Mania 29. Low-key, one of the best WrestleMania entrances in history, by the way. Number 24, Kurt Angle. Only in professional wrestling can tens of thousands of people chanting "You suck" at you in unison be considered a good thing. Kurt Angle's entrance for the first several months after his WWE debut was, to be honest, rather brief. Part of the Olympic hero shtick was riling his opponents and the fans up with a pre-match promo, often delivered as he was walking down the ramp. In time, his entrance changed and became something more befitting his status as one of WWE's biggest stars. First, he got his own special pyro, set off while he hit an arms raise / look to the sky pose at the top of the ramp. The dynamic of Kurt's entrance changed completely when Edge encouraged fans to chant those 2 magical words at him when they were feuding in the spring of 2002. The chant stuck and over time evolved from something to antagonize Angle to something that was oddly endearing. WWE attempted to dissuade the chants by remixing Kurt's medal theme music, which Angle actually nicked off the Patriot, by the way, but they were really swimming against the tide and smartly threw in the towel. Number 23, Naomi. Naomi's first big role on WWE television was pretty much helping to enhance the entrance of another star. Alongside Cameron, Naomi was one of the Funkadactyls tasked with dancing and cheering as Brodus Clay entered the arena. Her previous experience dancing for the Orlando Magic basketball team, as well as WWE legend Flo Rida, had given her some serious moves. After ditching the dinosaur and going solo on SmackDown, Naomi concocted one of the most extravagant entrances in the industry. A focal point of the Blue Brand's revamped women's division, Naomi made sure the WWE universe felt the glow with a novel glow-in-the-dark arrival. It's amazing how something as simple on the surface as cutting the house lights, pumping up a dance track, and wearing some gear that turned various shades of neon green and pink when under a black light would create something quite so unique. Naomi's dance moves, knee slides, nip-ups, and leaps over the top rope all added to the energy and excitement, ensuring nobody sat on their hands when she left gorilla position. Number 22, Goldust. Goldust didn't need to do too much to stand out. Clad in a blonde wig and golden bodysuit, the Bizarre One turned heads with his very appearance. But as someone obsessed with the golden age of Hollywood, Goldust felt he needed his entrance to be a lavish production. A Shattered Dreams production. His earlier entrances in particular were something special. With golden confetti dropping from the ceiling and with golden light shining on him, Goldust looked like he was walking down his own personal walk of fame as he stepped past golden stars with his name on them. When he got to the ring, he would make another big show of removing his robe and wig, no movement wasted. The cinematic music, another genius Jim Johnson creation, was a perfect fit for it all. Later on, Goldust would get his own special camera filter and pyro, adding yet more elements to what was already a winning entrance. Dustin Runnels himself really worked hard to make the controversial character work, but his entrance went a long way towards helping people remember the name of Goldust. Number 21, Rey Mysterio. Who's that jumping out the sky? Why, it's legendary luchador Rey Mysterio, of course. While the Masked Man may have made his name in WCW, it's fair to say that WWE did so much more to improve the former Cruiserweight Champion's presentation right from his very first WWE appearance. They put the mask back on him for a start, and also gave him a belter of a theme song to go along with his explosive new entrance. And I mean that in the literal sense, by the way, as Ray would be shot upwards from beneath the stage thanks to a hydraulic platform borrowed from country music megastar Garth Brooks, with fireworks adding to the effect. Mysterio's entrance developed during the course of his stellar WWE career, with a change of theme song and the loss of the hydraulic ramp doing it no harm and probably helping to preserve his knackered knees. The Biggest Little Man incorporated a sweet touch in the late 2000s when he began having mini pep talks to his young admirers on the way to the ring before giving his mask to one lucky fan. Why was it never me, Ray? Number 20, Batista. It is amazing, actually scrap that, it's downright stupid that WWE's big idea for Batista when he got called up to the main roster was to cover up his bulging physique and have him walk silently carrying a goddamn box. You know what would have been much better? The Animal coming out in tiny trunks and gesticulating wildly as a year's supply of fireworks go off. That's what. Well, WWE got there in the end when Big Dave emerged as a major star in his own right. That opening cry of his theme music set Batista up perfectly to walk inside the pit of danger, and he added his own twist on the stand on the middle turnbuckle and taunt trope. The former WWE Champion's entrance was not just cool for the sake of being cool, but really matched his aura and helped establish what his character was. When Big Dave held the big belt in 2010, WWE's production people did away with the pyro and replaced it with a bright spotlight that ushered him into battle, an easy alteration that still made Batista feel like a big deal but also put over his new egocentric attitude. Number 19, Goldberg. Alright, so this one was directly lifted from WCW, but we would look like fools if we didn't include it in the top 20 here. And I am not prepared under any circumstances to look like a fool. Bill Goldberg certainly didn't look like one when he was getting ready for combat. It all began with a personal escort from a security team who made sure the man got to the stage without destroying anyone or himself. Once on the stage, Goldberg would stand not in front of his pyro but directly in the middle of it. Absolute mad bastard. That was just the first bit of pyro, as Big Bill's shadow punches and kicks set off more bangs, all while his war march of a theme blared ominously over the speakers. A lot of the time, Goldberg's entrance was longer than his actual match. Not that anyone was complaining, of course, not because his high-impact squashes weren't good, but because his entrance was good value for every second it ate up. Alright, who's next? Number 18, Bobby Roode. When Bobby Roode was about to make his WWE NXT debut, the company's music department sent him a handful of potential theme songs to sample and pick from. The former TNA star chose one, but Triple H wasn't convinced. He had one more for Roode to listen to. Sitting around ringside along with Michael Hayes, Bobby and Hunter both agreed that this song was the one. This was great. This fit the bill. This was glorious. Not since Fandangoing had fans had such a good time singing along with a wrestler's entrance music. More than just the audio components, Roode also looked like the absolute bollocks thanks to the lighting, smoke, and his dashing selection of robes. The former NXT champion would also bust out special variations of it for takeover events, such as his own personal choir singing him in, and the time that piano from the movie Big heralded his arrival. The entrance was simply glorious and continued to be so after Roode got his main roster call-up. I mean, anything involving a revolving platform is bound to get over, but still. Number 17, Eddie Guerrero. Eddie and Chavo Guerrero were trying their damnedest to be heels, but because they were so gosh darned entertaining, ended up accidentally turning themselves babyfaces. As the fun-loving duo who liked to lie, cheat, and steal, but were at least honest about it, Los Guerreros exchanged their scowls and skulks for shiny rims and custom paint jobs. The change of entrance music and implementation of lowrider cars made Eddie and Chavo one of the most over acts on the WWE roster. Fans delighted in seeing which new color or design they would come out with from one week to the next, and Latino Heat always made sure to put on a show by playing with the vehicle's hydraulic system. After Chavo turned on his uncle and the team split, Eddie decided to keep the entrance for himself or whatever other short-term partner he was teaming with. Guerrero's charisma was such that he didn't really need any fancy extras, but the lowrider became synonymous with him and is a key part of the late great legend's iconography. Number 16, The Shield. The first time we saw The Shield in a WWE ring, we didn't see them coming at all. Interfering from out of nowhere in the main event of Survivor Series 2012, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose hit like a pack of wolves and then disappeared from whence they came. Their actual entrance did a grand job of reinforcing the belief that the Hounds of Justice could get you from anywhere as they made their entrance through the crowd. This wasn't a trick WWE had done much previously, with Edge and Christian and the Sandman being two of the most obvious examples. It worked wonders for Reigns, Rollins, and Ambrose and got fans amped up by allowing them to get up close and personal with the trio. Their theme music, a basic guitar-heavy ditty courtesy of WWE Music Master Jim Johnson, helped signal what you already knew: somebody was about to get their backside kicked in by three blokes in flak jackets. As an aside, the current individual entrances of the Tribal Chief and the Architect are also first class. Number 15, Ric Flair. Ric Flair could accidentally trip over his own feet and roll 15 feet down the ramp, and he'd probably still get the ovation he's earned as one of the industry's true goats. He would look like a prat, yes, but we would all still be wooing and bowing for the icon because we are all such hopeless marks. The Nature Boy's WWE entrance, however, was a thing of pure elegance. There was the iconic theme, there were the iconic robes, styling and profiling his way to the ring. Flair looked the picture of professionalism and was occasionally given a pleasant burst of golden sparks as he strutted his way toward his domain. Once more on this countdown, the entrance doesn't really have that many moving parts to it, but for some people, less really is more, and a good theme and a lovely gown will get them very far. Diamonds are forever, and so is Ric Flair's entrance. Number 14, The Rock. Here's another one where bells and whistles just weren't necessary. It's just a man walking to the ring with purpose. But not just any man. Only the most electrifying man in all of entertainment. The reaction the Great One's music would instantaneously elicit sent shivers down the spine. It wasn't even his music actually, but his "If you smell what The Rock is cooking" catchphrase that got the millions and millions of The Rock's fans jumping out of their chairs. The purpose with which he walked to the ring couldn't be denied either, and he made sure to drink in the adoration by standing on the second turnbuckle, holding his hand, often clutching a title belt, high into the air. The People's Champion's entrance changed some when he turned into Hollywood Rock in 2003, a new drawn-out video prelude and remix theme playing before a sea of jeers. As far as one-off entrances go, his WrestleMania 32 one, where he set his own name on fire and was cheered on by Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, was quite the exhibition. Number 13, Jeff Hardy. If any other WWE superstar came out covered in paint and danced like this, then they would look like a prize bellend. But when Jeff Hardy does it, it all somehow somehow works. Because even though he looks a little bit like a weirdo in a cleared out nightclub at 3 in the morning, the charismatic enigma's dancing, which he calls the Duke, oddly suits him. As does his theme music, which always elicited a big pop, especially the fan favourite No More Words version. Speaking of big pops, the sound of Jeff's entrance pyro really made you feel like you were at a Kiss concert, only with one face-painted lunatic instead of 4. Hardy had a couple of especially memorable entrances as a solo star, including one where he was accidentally engulfed by his own pyro, later revealed to be the work of jealous big brother Matt. Jeff's first entrance after winning the WWE title at Armageddon 2008, however, was a much happier occasion, celebrating his triumph with a sea of confetti and enough explosives to make Guy Fawkes green with envy. Number 12, Gangrel. One of the best things about the Attitude Era is that just about everyone had a definable character, even those wrestling toward the bottom of the card. Gangrel was never going to headline WrestleMania, but as WWE's resident vampire, he would always have a spot on the show and get a reaction. Much of that was thanks to his awesome entrance. His theme, an eerie gothic piece combined with black and red flashing lighting, did a good job of making you feel like you were about to have your blood drained from your body. Which really tapped into my childhood fear of having my blood drained from my body. When the guitar licks kicked in, Gangrel would come from beneath the stage, the flames making it appear as if he was ascending from hell itself. After he had fanged and banged his way to the ring steps, Gangrel would then drink from his chalice and spit a red liquid, possibly blood, into the air like a demonic Triple H, staining his shirt. Just such a cool entrance, and one that looked even cooler when flanked by his brood brethren. Also, the man himself once revealed that if you played the whispers at the beginning of his theme backwards, it says, "I buried Paul, walk with me," an Easter egg from composer Jim Johnston and an allusion to the rumour that Beatles member Paul McCartney actually passed away in the 60s and was replaced with a lookalike. The more you know. Number 11, Kane. Kane's backstory said that The Undertaker's half-brother may have burnt his parents' funeral home to the ground, giving him disfiguring scars that would stay with him for life. You would think he would want to stay away from the flames from then on, but the Big Red Machine showed no fear around the fire and utilised it as one of his trademarks. Kane's entrance began with that eerie organ, totally appropriate for someone who could have come out of a horror film, before a massive explosion announced the arrival of the devil's favourite demon. Marching to the ring like Jason Voorhees closing in on his next kill, Kane would step over the top rope, walk to the centre, raise his arms high in the air, and then bring them down, triggering a combustion from all 4 ring posts. It didn't matter what version of his theme he was using, whether masked or unmasked, babyface or heel. Kane's entrance worked like a charm every time and somehow succeeded in making the 7-foot pyromaniac who derived pleasure from inflicting pain on others come across as even more intimidating. Number 10, Shinsuke Nakamura. Similar to Jeff Hardy, if anyone else came out doing the sort of movements that Shinsuke Nakamura does, we would probably call the police. Or, laugh at them at the very least. Maybe even write something snarky about them on social media, who knows? As with Hardy, it is Nakamura's overflowing charisma that makes this all work. And that theme. That sensational, ear-pleasing theme that you can somehow sing along to even though it doesn't contain any lyrics. The first chords do a grand job of getting the pulse racing, before the violin of all things almost screams and Shinsuke, looking like a strong-style Michael Jackson, is spied through the flashing strobe lights. Jamming with his own theme on the way to the ring, the in-ring artist steps onto his canvas and, in a final flourish, holds the top rope and folds himself backwards in perfect harmony with another of those violin screams. Magnetic stuff, made even more so on the occasions when he brings his personal violin player with him. Number 9, Degeneration X. Are you ready? I said, are you ready? Oh, you are? Sorry, couldn't hear you for a second there. Got to speak up a tad next time, alright? There have been several iterations of Degeneration X, and thus several different versions of the group's entrance. The Break It Down theme by the DX Band had an intro that expertly built anticipation. When it finally all kicked off, the innovative decision to cut back and forth between the kinetic entrance video and the actual entrance itself was inspired. Ah, the 90s. Just makes you want to gobble up some E and go to an illegal rave, doesn't it? When DX was whittled down to just Triple H and Shawn Michaels, it lost a bit of its cool factor, but was still a guaranteed way to get a crowd pumped up. Plus, look at all that DX merchandise. The t-shirts, the glow sticks. Don't you just want to buy it all right now from WWEshop.com? Special shout out to the SummerSlam 2009 entrance where Hunter and HBK came out in a tank. Yes, an actual tank, not like that other time. Number 8, Stone Cold Steve Austin. A trait that sets Stone Cold Steve Austin apart and helped him connect with the masses was his no-frills demeanor and the way he went about his business. He wore simple black trunks, black boots, and a black vest for his walk to the ring, while in the ring his main goal seemed to be setting the records for most right hands dished out and most mudholes stomped in a professional wrestling match. Austin's entrance was as straightforward as his ass-kicking style. He simply walked to the ring as his theme music played and climbed the middle turnbuckle in each corner to salute the fans on every side of the arena. What made Austin's entrances so epic were the crowd reactions. His pops were unparalleled, and the second that glass shattered seemed to be the signal for everyone to get on their feet and lose their freaking minds. The Texas Rattlesnakes entrances also have an added nostalgia factor to them due to the Attitude Era crowds bringing so many signs and disposable cameras to the shows. Rumor has it the experience of an Austin entrance could be enhanced by consuming 4 or 5 ice-cold Steveweisers. Number 7, Hulk Hogan. It's amazing to think that someone, the US Express tag team here, used Rick Derringer's Real American before Hulk Hogan. Put simply, it's a song that feels like it was written specifically for the Hulkster, brother! During the 1980s, Hogan symbolized the might of the United States of America, and fans truly believed that the red and yellow was fighting for the rights of every man who saluted the red, white, and blue. It goes without saying that the opening dun 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 sent everyone in the arena mental, and Hogan knew how to work the room so that everyone from the front row to the nosebleeds felt like he was interacting solely with them. Once in the ring, Hulk ripped off his shirt and continued to pose to the sound of a wailing guitar solo. Honestly, I'm getting goddamn fired up just thinking about it. Time to eat a hot dog and start a war. Yeehaw! Hogan had not just one, but 2 excellent entrance themes, with Jimi Hendrix's Voodoo Child a treat for anyone with a pair of working ears. Number 6, Bray Wyatt. The entrance of Bray Wyatt, and by extension the entire Wyatt family, was as majestic as it was menacing. First announcing "We're here" and blowing out a lantern, the Eater of Worlds would then come out in almost complete darkness, aided by a lamp that was now suspiciously relit. Don't question the logic of it all, just enjoy the show is my advice. The music, with its irresistible bass line, guided Bray and whoever else as the thousands of fireflies lit up the arena. The new face of fear would then blow out the lamp again, which had the effect of abruptly cutting the music. When Bray underwent a character makeover and transformed into the Fiend, his entrance went from being unsettling to downright terrifying. A big part of the success of both characters was down to their presentation, and the production of the entrances arguably did more than any one match ever could when it came to getting across just exactly what they were and what made them and Wyndham Rotunda as a performer just so special. Number 5, The Ultimate Warrior. Nobody is ever going to accuse Jim Hellwig of being a master technician between the ropes, but what his Ultimate Warrior alter ego lacked in finesse was made up for 10 times over in pure theatrics. Along with the face paint and the superhero body and the colourful ring gear, one of Warrior's big attractions was his pulsating entrance. Those rocking drums and guitar riff would hit, Warrior would sprint from the curtain to the ring in record time, jump on the apron and spin before shaking the ropes like a maniac. Later, he would have his own personal logo pyro display in the ring. You know, looking back on it, maybe this high-energy entrance was the reason most of Warrior's matches were a little on the short side. I don't think I'd be that bothered about grappling after Usain bolting it to the ring. For all his faults, Warrior radiated charisma and had everyone looking at him. Fans just had to make sure they didn't blink and miss it is all. Number 4, Triple H. Once Triple H got a taste of what having a cool entrance was like during his time in DX, he never looked back. The Cerebral Assassin's career went from strength to strength, following the Heartbreak Kid's temporary retirement as he blossomed into a headliner in his own right. His first post-DX solo theme, the rousing My Time, was great, but Motorhead's The Game took things to another level entirely. In no great hurry to get to the ring, Hunter would slowly walk onto the stage, take a moment, douse his head with water, and then stride determinedly to the ring. Once on the apron, Triple H would take another moment to scan the arena before, in perfect harmony with his music, unleash a mighty mighty shower of water into the air. The combination of music, lighting, and timing made it so much cooler than it sounds. A huge fan of the band IRL, Trips must have been in dreamland when Lemmy and the lads played him down to the ring at WrestleMania X7. Speaking of WrestleMania, the King of Kings has been responsible for some of the very best, and if we're honest, the most ridiculous in the show's long and illustrious history. Number 3, Chris Jericho. Welcome to Entrance for Jericho! Wait, that doesn't sound quite right. Anywho, professional wrestling's master of reinvention may have tweaked his entrance during the course of his WWE career, but the core elements remain the same. The countdown that counted down to his music kicking in was a great way to start things off, going from 10 to 0 before a brief pause and a very loud explosion signaled that it was time to break the walls down! After taking a second or two to drink it in, man, Y2J would confidently walk to the ring, playing to the crowd like the frontman he is in his spare time. An entrance that created an untold number of Jerichoholics. In 2012, the Ayatollah of Rock and Roller introduced the light-up jacket, an admittedly gimmicky accessory that reportedly cost tens of thousands of dollars and, in all fairness, ended up being worth every penny. I hear his entrance for the other company is pretty alright too, though that could just be the Judas in my mind talking to me again. Number 2, Edge. You think you know what the best entrance in WWE history is? Well, on this day, you can see clearly that Edge's just misses out on the top spot. The Rated R Superstars entrance took a while to fully take shape, but it just got better and better over time. It all seemed to come together when Edge was reigning as World Heavyweight Champion on SmackDown in the late 2000s. He had the belting Metalingus by Alter Bridge as his theme, the smoke machine providing a wall of fog for him to burst through, and an enviable pyro display. It's an entrance that made him look every bit the WrestleMania main eventer before he had even set foot inside the ring. And let's just talk about how satisfying it was to see the man make the entrance for his comeback in the 2020 Royal Rumble, almost 9 years after doctors determined he had to retire. Goosebumps every damn time. During his comeback run, the Ultimate Opportunist tinkered with his entrance a little, adding brutish aspects depending on the storyline or occasion. It's just not fair, is it? I mean, how can one man have two such incredibly cool entrances in one? Number 1, The Undertaker. Could it really be anyone else? For 30 years, the Phenom captivated WWE audiences and left them spellbound with his array of entrances. We watched The Undertaker go from a zombie mortician to the leader of a satanic cult to an undead biker to the welcome return of the dead man throughout his WWE career. Whatever the incarnation, his entrance remained unmatched throughout the eras. Whether slowly walking to the ring accompanied by the sound of an organ or gunning his Harley to Limp Bizkit, Taker had everyone, including his opponent, transfixed. Indeed, even seasoned professionals have attested to getting chills and finding themselves lost in the moment once that gong hit, the lights went out, and the smoke began to gather, perhaps only remembering the task at hand when the Demon of Death Valley stood to the ring steps and summoned a thundercrack with the raising of his arms. Extra special occasions, such as when he was defending his mythical WrestleMania undefeated streak, called for an increase in production value in the form of chariots, hearses, giant batwings, and a horde of extras tasked with playing druids or the souls of the Hall of Famers' victims. Regardless of whether it was a regular house show or the biggest event of the year, The Undertaker gave fans their money's worth by simply showing up and going to the ring.